How in the world can I control something that controls me? All right, Marcus, you've been doing great, but I think this topic is a little bit unrealistic. Can we control what controls us? Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Therapy Thursdays. Thank you again for those that have been tuning in consistently. If you're new, welcome to the channel. Please hit that subscribe button real quick so that you can stay updated on all my videos. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I will be releasing a new video on a different therapeutic topic, and it'll be great for everyone to learn. And I'm still learning as I go, and I'm just sharing the topics that I've learned and I've grown from. So today's topic is an interesting one. Even if you look at the title of this YouTube video, it says, you control what controls you. What does that mean? How is that possible? Isn't it by definition that what controls you means that you're out of control? Basically, this is what we're talking about. One of the topics I talk about a lot on this show is getting to know yourself. And that's so huge, and I can't emphasize enough how much we need to know ourselves. Because we don't, and it's not taught in society that you should get to know yourself. You should get to know how you work, your pros, your cons, the things you can get better at, the things you excel at, and you're better at than anybody else. Like, these are things that make us unique individuals and special and just unduplicatable, if that's even a word. Like, you got to figure out what makes you you. This just comes to your identity. Figure out who you are. Like, life is about figuring out who you are and creating your own path and your own journey and your own destiny. Like, it's a beautiful thing. Life overall is a beautiful thing. So I reiterate that point over and over, talking about getting to know yourself, because so much comes from getting to know yourself. So much joy and peace and just so many things come from knowing yourself. So once we get to know ourselves, some of the things we should get to know are our positives, of course, all the great and wonderful things about us, but of course all the negatives as well, all the things that we struggle with, that we're not 100% perfect on, which none of us are perfect, but finding our faults. And the reason we want to find our faults is so that we can work at them, so we can become better and hopefully get rid of the faults one day and turn them from cons into pros. Part of getting to know yourself is knowing your cons. And when you know your cons, you know what you need to work on. But there are some things that kind of overtake us. They feel like they're out of our control. And that's kind of where addiction spawned from. We have a lot of things that they can feel out of our control. And when we get to know those things, we can work at it. We can try to have more patience or more tolerance or build up walls and try to get better at these things. But sometimes we just have weaknesses that we can't get around. And those are the things that control us. So these are some prime examples. Like, let's say you're around a person. You have this guy, this girl, this man, this woman, this person that you're around. And every time you're around them, you feel weak. You feel like you can't control yourself around them. Like, if they snap your fingers, you'll just jump and say, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? Like, there are people in our lives that can have a control over us. And sometimes, and many times, that person isn't a healthy person to have in our lives. It may be a bad relationship that we just keep going back to because this person has a hold on us and it feels like they control us. Another scenario can be any kind of addictions, like let's say an alcoholic. Anytime they're around any kind of alcohol, they lose it. They feel like they can't control themselves and they run to the bottle and they kick back one. So there's these things, and you can evaluate your own life and figure out what are these things that control me in my own life, specifically tailored to me, tailored to you, and figure out what you can work on, and some things that just have a hold of us that it feels like we can't let go and it feels like it has control over us. So those things that control us, we don't have control over them necessarily, but we have control over the environment in which they thrive. What I mean by that, so let's say this person from the first example that has a control over you, that makes you weak in the knees and feels like they can just control you like a puppet with strings. If that person controls you all the time, you control putting yourself in the environment where they're located. So if this person goes to X club every Saturday, avoid the club. If you know they're there, when you see them and you're in their presence, they're going to take over and control you. Don't put yourself in that situation. You can control whether you put yourself in that situation that makes you out of control. So that's why we have to find out how we are, what makes us tick, and what controls us, and figure out the environments around those things and avoid those environments until we're strong enough to overcome them. Or some things, maybe you're just never strong enough to overcome, and that's okay. Again, we're talking about, even my brand, Share the Positivity. It's share the positivity, not share the perfection. We'll never get perfect. We can aim towards it. We can strive towards it, but have grace and mercy on yourself and understanding, like, I'm going to do the best I can. When and if I mess up, it's going to be okay. Get back up and keep going. If I fall down 9 times, I get back up 10. The second example, let's say an alcoholic, anytime he's around alcohol, he feels like it controls him and he can't have any control over his motor skills and any control to the point where he's got to run to the bottle and kick back some. Again, avoid environments where alcohol is. So clearly, if you're an alcoholic and you struggle with alcohol, don't go to bars. Be wary of bars, be wary of clubs, be wary of places where alcohol runs prevalent. And if that's the case, then you avoid those scenarios. So you can control putting yourself in an environment of which you are out of control when you were there. There's any X number of examples. You know yourself best. You know that, hey, this person, this substance, this events, these things take place and I just lose it. I can't control myself. I don't know who I am. My brain turns off. I start acting dumb and drooling. Like I can't control myself. I become a different person. If you know what those things are and the environments in which they thrive in, you can control whether you put yourself in that environment or not. So, I don't know, some things like, let's say that person who can control you, every time they text you, they're in control. Every time they call you, block their number. Block their number, delete their number. There are things that you can control. And when you don't put yourself in those situations, all of a sudden, hey, these things don't bother me anymore. That's kind of it. There's really nothing more to say, is that you can control what controls you when you control putting yourself in the environment in which you become out of control. Whatever it is that came to mind when you were watching this video, if that's the thing you're struggling with, work on it. Work on it your best. Try to understand the root cause of why this certain person or this certain substance has control over me. Do your best to go back and heal and find out what the root cause of it is. But in the meantime, set up healthy boundaries. Control the environments in which you're in so that you're not in an environment where these things take over you. And that's it. You are in control. You are in control. You're in control of where you go, of the people you hang out with, the substances you surround yourself with. So use that control wisely and use it to your best interest. Don't put yourself in a position, in a place next to a person that you know is not good for you, that you know controls you. You have that control over whether you put yourself in that environment. So use your control. Use your control wisely and use logic, not emotion, and say, hey, if I go here, this is what's going to happen. So if I can control if I go there or not, let me decide to not go there, not be around this person, not be around this substance, okay? That's it. I don't want to keep beating the point to your head. You control what controls you. Get to know yourself. Find out who you are, what makes you tick, the good, the bad, the ugly. Fix the bad, fix the ugly, become the best person you can possibly become. Nobody's perfect, we'll never be perfect, but let's strive to be the best versions of ourselves. And the only person you should be comparing yourself with is yesterday's you, a year ago you. If you're making progression in the right direction, that's it. That's all we can ask for. And that's how you become the best version of you. Okay? Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, tune into all my social media channels at Positive Marcus. Please sign up for my mailing list on my website at sharethepositivity.com. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please leave comments. Please share the video. We want to get Therapy Thursdays out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next week. Peace.